This definitely felt super original. Drive-by movies, you're watching
Fresh Releases.
My name's Blaze.
And my name is James.
And this week we're talking the Shudder original film, When Evil Lurks.
Los tiempos de la fe se terminan rápido.
When Evil Lurks is taking TikTok by storm, it takes place in a remote village where two brothers find a demon-infected man just about to give birth to evil itself. They decide to get rid of the man, but merely succeed in helping him to deliver the inferno. So, I don't know about you guys, or you, Blaze, but constantly I am seeing on TikTok, this is the most disturbing film I have ever seen in my life. Watch with caution. Don't mean to throw shade at that specific TikToker, but I just feel like everyone's seen that person. It's a guy who speaks very close to the camera, looks like he's about to tear up and stuff. I actually enjoy his videos when they show up on my feed, but I'm just like being a little over dramatic with this movie, y'all. Like, have y'all not seen a horror film? However, this movie is pretty brutal, though. Blaze, what are your first impressions of When Evil Lurks?
So we actually have reviewed this director's, I don't think it's his first film, but his like first Shudder exclusive original film, which was called Terrified, and that's not to be mistaken with Terrifier. But yeah, like we both enjoyed that movie. I think we watched it on a Fresh Releases, if not one of our previous older shows. But yeah, I think we both really enjoyed that.
First, like 10 episodes, I think.
Yeah, within the first 10 episodes of this series. So, you know, we really enjoyed it. It was quite surprising. It was kind of one of those first Shudder originals as well. It was like within the first year of Shudder releasing, you know, a movie every couple weeks. Now they're up to releasing at least a movie every week. So it's great to see that. And it was great to see them actually embark on this journey with this film's director and kind of create a new vision, maybe with a little bit. I mean, this budget definitely felt bigger than the previous film. I felt like it was still very self-contained, but I loved the story and it made me kind of think of it being a larger story. It never felt self-contained. Like, you know, like a film like Evil Dead feels like it's like self-contained budgetarily to only being in a cabin. This felt like it was, you know, a big movie, but we're just focusing on this story that keeps, you know, leaving the cities and going to the outskirts. And I absolutely love this movie. I don't think it was like too disturbing, as we've gotten a lot of the warnings from TikTok and a lot of other social medias. I still think the film See No Evil that we watched, See No Evil, or am I thinking of
See No Evil,
or is that the Kane? That's like the Kane movie with like the rest.
That one's Speak No Evil, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know why I keep getting those two.
See No Evil, though, the Shudder film from last year.
Yeah, there's too many evil movies. So it was the disturbing Shudder film from last year, but this I felt like wasn't as disturbing as that, but this was still super disturbing if you're not used to, you know, extreme cinema. But anyways, James, what'd you feel about this movie?
Yeah, See No Evil, I believe, was like a lot more of just like, you know, an intense just thriller drama where it just got horrific towards the end and was just like dreadful the whole movie just watching. Not that it was a bad movie. This movie is definitely much more on the side of being like a horror film. Terrified, I still think, is one of the creepiest movies I've ever seen. I still have visions of that little boy on the dinner table that's deceased but just somehow has been... I remember, like, yeah, someone wakes up and sees their kid just in that position. That's one of the most haunting images that still comes into my mind. And this movie goes in a more brutal direction. This is more the direction I would have liked to have seen a movie like A Quiet Place to Go in. Those movies I'm not into as much as like a lot of wider audiences are into. I just don't find them as like entertaining. I guess these are two still very different movies, but this is like, you know, along the lines of like travel, like a tour or travel across the country road trip movie that was like kind of like while watching, I was just like, I couldn't help but thinking like, wow, this is like a weird horror version of the Vacation movies. Like I just imagine Chevy Chase, if he ever was trying to survive like a zombie apocalypse, like this is the kind of shenanigans he'd be getting into. Chatting with his ex-wife, kids arguing in the drama, trying to figure out like his parents' issue. It's just like everything's going wrong within this movie, and so like some of that like kind of made me laugh. But just this movie is just really entertaining. I really like the directions that it went in, and just like it's horrific, and love the pacing of it because it goes pretty hardcore within the first like 30 minutes of the movie. Slows down a little bit, but then picks up again too. Like it's very well paced, I thought.
This film, like you said, the pacing was excellent. I think it did kind of slow down towards like the kind of 3/4 mark of the movie a little bit much for me, because there was kind of like little things that it picked up on, like, oh, this is about to happen, or like that's about to happen, and then we kind of just focus on one singular story, and then everything does come full circle for the end of the film, but it didn't feel like the payoff was really there, where the rest of the film before, like all the payoffs I felt like were there in like the first hour of the film. Like it sets up a lot of stuff. The tension is excellent throughout the that first hour. I thought there were oftentimes it was setting scenes up, but like in your head you're like something is gonna happen, and you're just like dreading it absolutely, and it still happens, and it still surprises you in the sense of like it went on almost so long with the tension that you're like, okay, maybe they're not going to do it. I really don't want them to do it. Maybe they won't do it, and they still do it, and you're just like, dude, come on, why'd you do that? But that's the kind of aspect I love when it comes to these like dreadful horror movies, where they ratchet up the tension as much as they can, and we get those moments that we kind of most expect and then least expect, and then are still disturbed. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I thought that this director showed such a progression after Terrified, because I do really enjoy the film Terrified, but this film just seemed like I hope that he gets this is his calling card to making an American movie or a Hollywood budget style movie, especially with the success of just the horror genre with like Talk to Me and Five Nights at Freddy's, I guess, recently, even though that's kind of not related, but it's still in the horror elements. There's money flowing there. I hope that maybe this director gets his shot in some Hollywood cinema, because he's definitely showed what he can do with a constrained budget and with constrained story devices. He's obviously the writer of both these films as well, and I think he definitely has the ability to tell us some original stories, because this definitely felt super original compared to a lot of the horror movies that we get, I feel like.
Absolutely. That was definitely what I wanted to go into most, with just like the originality of just making this contagious virus that's demon related, because we haven't seen anything like that since the Wreck movies, which still surprises me to this day. Like that was like the first time I'd ever seen like possession kind of be approached in that situation. And just the idea of like this kind of being like a crossover of like kind of how I imagined The Happening, and how that was supposed to be a scary, just violent movie where people just kind of unexplained go into these violent outbursts. But this movie takes it into a whole new level by taking it into more contagious demonic possession, which I really enjoyed. And the Wreck movies are very they take place usually in one location. I'm just talking about specifically the first and second films, but seeing this in that road trip aspect just made it feel so fresh. And because we haven't seen that kind of storyline in so long, and coincidentally both Spanish films, it's just like, why has nobody tackled this? Like, I'm surprised nobody in the US has tried to rip it off. Like, I'm sure someone has, and it's just a movie that's kind of gone over our gone under our radar. But it's just really cool to see, and I'm glad that this movie got such great reviews. I saw it's at 99% on Rotten Tomatoes with like over 80 reviews, which is insane. That's actually crazy. So I assume this director's resume is about to get a lot bigger, and I'm sure whether it's a big studio or just like a big director that just wants them to make their next movie for a studio, like I'm excited to see what direction this director goes in. Yeah,
I really hope he gets the Ari Aster treatment though, because seeing that he's written both these films, they've both been original and been different takes on kind of maybe like tired genres in a way, but I hope that he gets the opportunity to write a newer movie instead of just, you know, getting the keys to, hey, here's the Evil Dead series, you know, figure it out, because that just always seems doomed to fail. So I just hope that that's not the case. I mean, obviously I could see him directing an Evil Dead movie. I still haven't seen the new Evil Dead, but I just feel like he has that vibe going. But I'd love to see his original vision, because he's definitely nailed it the past 2 movies that he's done. So I feel like he has that opportunity to make something totally original and a new voice.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, this movie is streaming in Shudder. It's in theaters. You can also rent it through our Amazon affiliate link in our description box below. It's a great way to help support the show, because let us know, is this movie as brutal as everyone's saying it is? We're saying it's not, but you know, come back here and get mad at us if you watch it on our recommendation and say like, that was brutal. How dare you guys make it seem like it was easy going?
Yeah, and if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get all of our latest updates.
And speaking of updates, if you can't get enough of us here on YouTube, be sure to catch all our social media links down below. We got Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and we also have our own personal letterbox accounts. That'll conclude this week's episode. Tune in next week for a brand new video.